Hi, everybody. Welcome to the September 22nd, 2017 edition of Colorado Inside Out Postgame, a special web-exclusive production here on Channel 12. I'm Dominic Dezzutti, and let's get to a quick take on Steve Dorman, vice chair of the Jefferson County Republican Party, filing a court appeal this week challenging a Lakewood-based anti-growth measure. Poised to appear on the November ballot, the measure would limit new housing growth to 1% a year and require that the City Council approve the construction of larger residential projects. Patty Calhoun from Westward. So let's be clear on this. What Dorman is fighting is to get the measure off the ballot. The measure, if it gets on the ballot, would be the one that would limit growth if it's passed. Are you surprised about this whole growth fight in Lakewood?
No, I'm not at all, because Lakewood is seeing a lot of growth as areas of Denver get priced out or there's no open space. A lot of people are moving to Lakewood. But Lakewood's mayor and city council have done a very good job of keeping an eye on how some of that development goes. And arts, for example, where Denver artists are getting priced out, they're moving to Lakewood. So Pirate Art Gallery wound up moving over to Lakewood. Ross Photos. I mean, these institutions in Denver that have been priced out, or in the case of Reed Photos, case of Reed, it was the widening of Federal sent them out of Denver and into Lakewood. Lakewood has a lot of great amenities beyond Casa Bonita. It's a pretty cool city right now, and I think this measure will get back on the ballot. I'm worried it's too restrictive, that it really just doesn't give. There are ways to change zoning, there are ways to watch development, but you don't want to put a lid on all of it.
David Kopel from the Independence Institute and DU Law School. You are our esteemed lawyer at the table. We hear all these things about, court appeals this, court appeals that. From what you can tell and what you've seen, what do you think? What will be the result of all these court actions?
It'd be easier to have an answer if the Lakewood City Clerk had put her opinion in this case online so that people can read it. Instead you get secondhand reports in good articles from the Denver Post and the Lakewood Sentinel. But in these days, there's no good reason why that opinion in this major news issue for the city shouldn't have been available to the entire public to see. As I understand from the news reports, there's two objections to the petitions. One is that the petition circulators, instead of using a word in their signature verifying the contents, which were notarized, instead of using a word like oath or sworn, it said acknowledged. I'm not expert enough on petition law to say that that's necessarily a fatal defect. Probably not. The other thing, which is a very good argument, is that this is a 14-page measure, but yet the petitions that were circulated merely had a 2-sentence summary of it. However, the clerk's point of view, which seems to make sense, is, and in the process, there's a time when you can make an objection to that, and that time is when the petition is before the clerk's office for authorization and consideration and public comment, and not at the end of the process after the petitions have already been put out. Scott Gessler, the former Secretary of State, is representing the petitioners, so I think they have a good chance of winning in the Court of Appeals. As Patty said, this is too much of a blunt instrument. Lakewood should maybe improve on saying, when you build a apartment complex, make sure there's the local services nearby that can sustain it. You're not going to burden the infrastructure further, but this is too blunt and not carefully thought through, I think.
Ben Gill, public affairs consultant. You've worked with a lot of city council candidates in Denver, so you have your finger on the pulse of a lot of civic issues. Looking a little bit outside of Denver to Lakewood, I guess I was surprised by the whole idea that there would be an anti-growth measure, but hey, it's 2017. People are probably everywhere complaining a little bit about growth in the metro area. If you're out there advising city council folks, they need to work really hard to defeat this measure, or is it a good idea?
I think it's a bad idea, as both Patty and David noted. It's too blunt, too broad, and too restrictive. I do actually handle a lot of entitlement work around the metro area, helping developers and property owners get zoning and permitting and permissions to do projects. So this is part of my milieu, and my comment would be that there has been explosive growth around the metro area. Really, if you really want to get into it, you can talk about going back to the 60s and 70s when we fought things like bringing the Winter Olympics to Colorado. Another fight that we're probably going to have to do again, thanks to our totally misguided leadership. So I think that this is, as they said, the wrong approach. I think it's the right question to look at. How do we grow? How do we grow intelligently in a way that allows people to continue to have the lifestyle that they expect, where they can drive, which I know is important to a lot of people, but also to a new generation of people who are thinking a little bit differently about modality and transportation. So right subject matter, wrong answer.
Roger Hudson joins us, former PIO for the Attorney General and also the managing partner of the Hudson firm. Roger, now Steve Dorman is doing this as an independent citizen, not representing the Republican Party, but it's part of his title. So that's going to be part of all of it, just as we're talking about it. Does that do anything for the Jefferson County Republican Party that he's looking to get this off the ballot?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not surprised at all that Republicans, especially Jefferson County, very liberty-minded, very freedom-oriented. They're very, very active. And the idea that Steve would come in and say government shouldn't have the right to limit what we build, where we build it, and limiting government in Lakewood makes perfectly good sense to me for them. And I'm sure that's how they're looking at it. Whether or not in the long term he's going to be happy with how the city turns out, you know, as it's been mentioned around the table, you know, the city should have sovereignty, but they should also have smart growth. They should be planning. They should be looking ahead. Colorado is a great place to be. We're going to see just a boom in more population coming. We haven't seen anything yet, especially if Amazon comes. Google just bought as well. I think we're going to see more people wanting to live in Lakewood. Lakewood may want those people. Smart, good paid jobs. Yeah, I think that's limiting to that small a number, I think is a problem for them.
We shall see. That is all the time we have for Colorado Insight postgame this week. Leave us a comment and tell us what you think. For everyone here at CPT12.org, I'm Dominic Guzzuti. Thank you very much for watching.